What is up, guys? Welcome to another week of the All In podcast with Badbeatbryce and Ryan the Rock. This is our first episode of 2021, and we are excited for a great guest today and a great lineup we have planned for the coming weeks. How you doing, Ryan?
You know what? I gotta say, I've never been more excited in a new year. Like we're booked through January. We've got a crazy February coming up. Please, if you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. We have been consistently growing throughout we've only been on here for 2 months, and the podcast has existed for we're closing in on a year, Bryce. That's crazy. It's gone
absolutely
by
nuts.
So fast.
And I know we talk about it so much, but just to see how much it's blown up recently, you just commented on a stream of a.
I was on Wayne Chang's stream, from Live at the Bike. He's literally one of the nicest guys. We're gonna have him on the podcast soon too. Yeah. Which is going to be awesome.
I'll be moving to Texas and playing on those live feeds soon. We've got some amazing guests lined up. February, we're doing an all women's month, which is going to be great. And we've got a lot of special things coming, including, I would be bad to not mention, our merch giveaway ends actually tomorrow at 10 p.m. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel. You go on my Instagram and you tag 2 people and you enter yourself. You can win money or 2 different merch items. So make sure to go do that. Do we have any other announcements?
No, I think all right. We were just pretty much touching on that topic to begin with, but goal setting for 2021, in and outside of poker, I think for the podcast, we got a lot of work to do this year. And I've been looking forward to it and the growth's been great. For me in poker, I think I'm really looking forward to live poker returning towards the end of the year. And, being able to play back at my home casino again and sit across the table from real people. It just feels like we've crossed the hump with the pandemic and that, at some point this year, we're going to be sitting down and playing live poker again. And that just feels good. That just feels good to say,
100%. Yeah, just to remind you guys, Ryan lives in Connecticut. So while live poker is alive and well in some states, and I don't know about while poker is happening and the action is pretty good where I've gone, it's just different. You can't talk to people as easily, and it's just not as social as it used to be. A lot of places, there's no drink service, or the drink service closed down at like 9, 10 p.m. So there's not as many drunk tourists coming in. But in terms of goal setting for the podcast, we've got a ton of goals that are very specific. And I think in terms of poker goal setting, a lot of people are too focused on the monetary gains. And a lot of people talk about this. But while I have a rough number that I'd love to hit, it's so much more about putting in the hours, whether it be study time or how much I want to put in the table. So having just those SMART goals, I know they teach it to you in high school or whether it be sports or whatever. So SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So in terms of specific, for example, a goal of mine is I'll be traveling for the next month to 6 weeks. So a goal is to simply put in 25 hours a week. So it's very realistic, it's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, all that crap. But it's really true. And you don't want to set yourself up for failure. A lot of people just have the general goal of I'm going to get in shape in the new year. And the reason why that doesn't work out is because if you say you're going to work out 2 times a week, you're way more likely to get in shape than if you just say, I'm going to get in shape. And you're way more likely to get discouraged. So make sure to make it both realistic and just measurable, or you're setting yourself up for failure, whether it be in poker or whether it be outside of it. So
I totally agree.
Yeah, absolutely. So personally, I do want to work on outside of poker getting healthier. So hitting the hotels, there's a lot of workout equipment, so I'll be hitting the gym right after this. And in terms of eating and drinking, cutting out alcohol except for four cheat days. But I think it's good to just set goals and make sure to stick to them. And I think that this topic is incredibly relevant to our guest, who we'll be introducing here in a second. Do you have anything else to say on goal setting?
The only other thing I'd have to say on goal setting is to be sure that you don't set a goal that is so difficult to attain that you're going to burn yourself out. So, if you're not Bryce and, you don't want to look at Bryce and say, oh, Bryce is doing 25 hours a week, I have to do 25 hours a week. I think that's an important thing, is that setting goals that are very personalized to you and aren't based or biased or pulled from somebody else, because you have a unique experience as compared to them.
Absolutely.
And that's my 10 cents.
Yeah, I very much agree. And without further ado, you want to do your iconic intro?
Absolutely. So this week on the All In Poker podcast, we are proud to present a very unique guest. From a bank teller to a professional poker player to a dating coach, and now the owner of Mindset Mentoring, Karim Chelli has quite the career so far. Karim's mindset training helps his students to craft a bulletproof mindset and generate athlete-level performance in all aspects of life. We'll be sure to leave a link to his company page and social media accounts below so you can get yourself some mindset coaching. And without further ado, let's welcome Karim Chelli to the podcast.
Hello, guys. Thanks for
Hi,
having
welcome.
me.
Yeah,
Our
of course.
first international guest saying hello from Vienna, Austria.
Yes.
Good Lord. That's so cool. I'm very happy that we could get this going, that we could get this together, even with the time difference. It's what, like dinner time in Austria right now?
No, in Austria it's very late actually. Like after this, I'm just eating my like lunch, like the last food I eat for today, and then I'm good to go.
I love it. I love it. So, let's just dive right into these questions. So on your website, you talk about getting rid of bad poker habits and replacing them with good ones. What are a few of the most common bad habits that you find yourself dealing with your players, and what are the common fixes?
Mm-hmm. So, like one of the most common things you have to imagine, like I work with poker players from all over the world, right? Yeah. And what I see is that we usually, or what I see is like usually I see the same things over and over again, And what they do, for example, is either fear of failure or fear of success. So, and this comes down to self-sabotage, So one of the bad habits is self-sabotage in one way or the other, That's one thing, for example. Or people who don't enjoy studying that much, right? So they say like, oh, like, why should I study? I could also play and make money, right? Because like, one of my clients once told me like, studying has 0 EV, So like, if I play, I have like more than 0 EV, Like, why should I study, And like, he's right in one way, right? But over the long run, of course, like studying has like a huge amount of EV, So like some people, they come into poker, and what I always say is like the behaviors you have on your poker table usually are a mirror of the behaviors you have in your day-to-day life, right? So like even if it's like being undisciplined, like not having the motivation to study or do whatever, right? Or like not the motivation to go to the gym or discipline, whatever, So I think that's quite a lot already.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Well said. In your intro video on your website, you mentioned how you fell in love with poker yourself. How often do you find yourself playing, and is it primarily live or online?
Yeah, I mean, I don't play that much because I'm nearly fully booked out. Like this week, for example,
great.
Like this week, for example, like I have one call after each other, And awesome. For me, one of my biggest weaknesses is like I like to work so much, that I really have to force myself to stop, So usually Saturday is my day off, But then when a client says like, hey, can we do a session? I'm only free on Saturday. I'm like, okay, let's do it, So
that's great though.
So also on Saturday, like this week I have a call. But yeah, so usually when I have a little bit more time, what I do is with my friends, because I also have like a lot of poker friends, of course. So I play with them, some fun games, like home games, or like, like we play live, for like whatever, for like a dinner or something, So,
I love it.
Yeah, so that's what I do.
Yeah, that's fun. So as you mentioned, you have a ton of calls this week. So if you guys want, you guys can get a free consultation with him by visiting his website. So make sure to go ahead and do that.
KarimChelli.com, correct?
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
There you go. You can see his name spelled right there. Type that sucker in. Get your free consultation. So
exactly.
I'm curious because you were just talking about some of those bad habits and self-sabotage, and that makes me think of the Daniel Negreanu Doug Polk heads-up matchup. I don't know if you've seen a lot about this, but Daniel has been a little bit on tilt in post-session interviews. He posts these little hand history reviews of all the pots over 10K that go to Showdown, but he's stuck a lot of money right now, close to $1 million. And well, what would you recommend for a person like that to avoid the self-sabotage and get back to that, A game form of thinking?
Schedule a free consultation call with me.
There you go.
No, but it's not so easy to say, from far away, right? Because usually self-sabotage has like a deeper reasoning to it, And as you said correctly, like I have a lot of things. I did a lot of things in my career, And an example that I can give you is, for example, in the dating niche, right? So I started as a dating coach for the people who are watching. And with the dating stuff, sometimes I tell people like do this, do exactly this thing, and they know it, and I just told them, and they're like, I can't do it, right? They just like sabotage themselves, right? And then you have to dig deep. Where is it come from? Sometimes it comes from our childhood, from our past, right? For example, one of the most common things in the dating industry, when we stick to this topic, is when, for example, some clients, when they grew up in kindergarten or so, they see a pretty girl and they're like, hey Sarah, I like you, I fell in love with you. And all the people around, all the children around, like, ha, Luke likes Sarah or whatever, her name is, and like everyone is laughing at Luke, and he's like, oh my God, now for the rest of my life, I will never tell a girl that I'm in love with her.
Wow.
Right? And then they come to me and then like, oh, I never had a real relationship. I was not able to have a good relationship because I was never able to tell a girl that I love her, right?
Wow.
And then you have to dig deep. Where does it come from? And you see this also like in poker. For example, one of the best things is like fear of success. People who know they have to study to become successful. But in school they know like they never learn for a test. And then they get like a good grade, like I don't know, in Austria like 2 is a very good grade, like you have 1 to 5, and depending on where the people are watching, but 1 is the best, 5 is the worst, if you have like a 2 or 3 without studying, you're pretty good, and then they know like because they can say like, oh, if I would study, I would have the best grade here, but like for poker the same, they feel like, okay, like I have good results, but if I would study, I would be the best poker player. So they protect themselves from actually becoming really good by just protecting their ego,
Interesting.
So that's a habit that I see over and over again.
Well said. Appreciate that example. At what point in your life did you really recognize the importance of a strong mindset, or that you wanted to go into something like this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like that's a very cool story to share. So as I told you, like I started as a dating coach. And the reason why I became a dating coach was because I struggled to find a girlfriend myself. I was very shy when I was younger, and then I started to say I don't want to be shy. I want to change something. So I started to like go on workshops, to do seminars, and to learn all this stuff to become more confident. And then people came to me and said, hey, like you made an awesome transformation in the last couple of years. Can you coach me? Right? And I'm like, what do you want to be coached in? Yeah, like I saw you, like you have amazing friends, you have a cool group of like a friend circle, and like also like maybe you can help me to find a girlfriend, right? I did this, this was my first client, he became successful, and then more and more people came to me and then wanted to be coached by me, right? And also I started to give seminars myself about this topic, at some point. If you saw the intro video, you also saw me talking to the audience. So there was a point where I had like many clients, in the dating niche, and there was one specific client who came to me. He was from the military. Okay, so he was like 2 meters, like muscular, like tattoos, a huge beard, like balding, like he was like, his face was like this, very, very,
very
like
masculine.
Yeah. And if you saw him, you're like, holy shit, who is this guy, And he saw, like, he talked to me, and he said he saw crazy things. He was in war zones. He saw like bombs exploding and like things we can't even imagine nowadays, and he said to me he has a huge amount of approach anxiety, you know. And I'm like, okay, let's see how big it really is, you know. So we went out, and there was an old lady, and I said like, do you see this old lady? And he's like, yes. And I'm like, go to her and ask, you know, just for the direction, ask where the next supermarket is, you know. And he's like, he froze, you know, he starts to shake, you know, and he nearly started to cry in the middle of the day, you know, in front of me. And I thought like, what's going on here, you know, because like this old lady would be happy if you know, like if he would talk to her, you know. So and he was like so afraid, he was shaking. He's like, I cannot do it. I'm like, and then I thought like for a second, I thought like, okay, like this has nothing to do now with like approach anxiety. It's like itself, you know, like the technical part. Just say hi and be nice, right? This has more to do with a deepening reason, right? The reason is much deeper than just like he has no idea what to say or something, right? So I said, okay, like this is so interesting for me. I want to know more why this happened. I want to know more why people overreact in certain situations. So what I did is then I said, okay, I want to learn more about this mindset topic. So I started to learn more about it. And what happened is I decided to specialize more to entrepreneurs and professionals, you know, in terms of who I want to coach. So I coached more of like the business owners and people in important positions, you know. And then a few months later, a very successful poker player came to me after one of my speeches and said like, hey man, like the knowledge that you have is like really, really special. And I'm sure like most people who are watching, I don't know if I should say his name, but most people who are watching know this person. You know, he's a huge poker brand. He has a huge poker brand. I'm not saying more. You know, he has a huge poker brand.
Very accomplished.
Yeah. He came to me and he said like, your knowledge is unique and special and probably could help a lot of poker players, you know. And I said like, what do you mean poker players? And he's like, let's go for dinner, you know. Let's talk about this. I'm like, okay, you know. So we went for dinner, and until this point, to put things in perspective, I never met a professional poker player or like heard about like this could be, you know, something that you do for a living, you know. I thought like playing poker is like going to the casino and just like putting like all your money on red and hope that it comes, you know. Right. And
what year was this, by the way, for context sake?
This was 3 years ago. 3
years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was him, his flatmate, and me, and then we talked about a lot about poker and like what the poker community, you know, what people struggle with, you know, and also the game itself. And I'm like teach me some poker, you know, like I want to know more. And like the next day they invited me over and they teach me the basics, you know. And you have to imagine like an absolute beginner, like have no idea about ranges or like EV or whatever, playing with the best poker players, you know, on the table. And like, what should I do? Like, is 7 deuce off a good hand? What should I do, you know? And so basically he became one of my closest friends. And I'm so happy that he introduced me to this industry. And do
you mind if we out this person? You were very recently on one of his podcasts.
Yeah.
It's no secret.
Yeah. I mean, like you can tell.
So yeah, his name is Ben CB. He's kind of a big deal if you've heard of him. And like you were saying, he showed up to one of your lectures, and you were recently on his podcast. What was that advice that he gave to you that helped you build this business around poker coaching itself?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like he was the guy who like introduced me to the poker game itself, right? Okay. And he also coaches people on a regular basis, right? Yeah. So what he said, you know, that like the combination that I bring to the table, which is like the dating guy, you know, who has a lot of knowledge in this aspect, you know, and also the mindset, the mindset knowledge that I have, you know, which is also very strong, you know. Those two things combined are the perfect fit for a poker player, you know? Right. Because like poker is a very isolated game, right? And like helping guys to be more like social, you know, find a girlfriend or like just like to get in touch, because like Ben once told me that he knows a lot of people who are afraid to post hands, you know, in Discord channels, you know? And like this is where it starts, you know. If you're not able to post a hand and get feedback from people like from who you don't know, you know, like how can you then talk to a girl, or like, like maybe if you play live, on like have like take the pressure, for example, let's say you make it to a big final table, how can you deal with all that pressure then? If you cannot even post a hand on Discord. You know? So yeah, this is what he told me, and then this is what really got my attention.
Yeah, no, I definitely see the parallels between the dating world and the fear of being able to play poker. That was well articulated. Would you say that anybody could be a winning poker player if they establish a good mindset?
Yeah, like mindset is one thing. Mindset is definitely one thing, but it's also like the willingness to really like make it happen. Because like poker has a lot of like beautiful things, and like can give you or can help you to create a life you cannot even imagine.
Right.
For example, like Ben, like he was the first real good poker player that I met, and his life is amazing. He has really awesome lifestyle, and but he like if you know a little bit about his story, like he told me that like when he started to play poker, he like busted multiple tournaments and like lost his bankrolls. I think he was like 3 times where he like to re-upload his bankroll, or something like that. And at the third time, then like everything started to get better and bigger, for him. So it's definitely someone has to be willing to put in the hours and also like get like the like a lot of bad stuff in as well, with the ups and downs of poker, But yeah, I think a good mindset is definitely, in my opinion, probably more than half, more than 50%. What a good poker player has to bring with.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree.
I'm just trying to imagine you as a brand new poker player sitting down to learn in a flat with Ben CD and like a couple of other sharks, I'm sure, just learning how to play. And like what a crazy experience.
Yeah, it was like him and his flatmate and me, like we 3 guys, And
yeah,
it's incredible experience. Yeah,
so cool. So you talk at length about this A-game state that you want your players to be able to get into really at will. Mm-hmm. And like, I understand this. We've all gone through a poker session in your life where it just feels like you're clicking buttons and that you're not really in control of the situation. So how would you define someone's A-game, and how do you help these players to stay so focused?
Mm-hmm. That's a very good question. I really like this question. So because that's also what I get a lot when people come to me in the free consulting calls. They ask me the same questions. So what I would define as your A-game state, for the people who don't know what it is that you have your best personality. It's not just the focus itself. It's just like the best personality in terms of like the best decision making. Mm-hmm. Confidence. You take your time to make decisions. You rethink your decisions, and like whatever you decide to do, you own it fully, right? Mm-hmm. And this is where, like in your A-game state, this is where like poker players make the most of their money. It's also where you have the most resistance against tilt, for example. And so like you're fully focused and you know what you do basically, right? And what I do with my clients is we create certain routines. So I always describe it this way. What I do with my clients is we create a like imaginary key, and this key helps you to open a door. Behind this door is your best self with your A-game state in, right? Okay. And what I do is like I help them to create this key with me through certain routines and techniques, so they can open the door, access the state whenever they want, So like, for example, like if they on a date, to link it back, they can also do these exercises to access this state, So it's not just poker related. What I teach is like life related, Yeah. And the thing is, and when I started to implement those techniques with my clients, what they always said is like they're not able to sleep because what they did is that they left the door open. So what I also do is like I help them to close the door as well, right? So a lot of poker players also come to me and say like I cannot sleep, like my brain is so active. What should I do? Yeah. And that's one of the easiest things. If you open the door, you close the door. Simple as that.
How do you help people close the door? Because I get that too. A lot of us now are playing, later into the night in online sessions and tournaments and stuff. And I always find myself like the hour after you bust from a tournament, it's obviously a high adrenaline, high focus situation. And it takes me like an hour or more to get like ready to go to sleep. Like, what do you recommend for people post session to unwind?
Mm-hmm. So to answer this, you have to first understand how to do the pre-session routine, right?
True.
But to make the answer very short here, because I think this would take 1 hour, 2 hours, to really go into depth here. But what you can do is to really write down the things that ran through your mind, or like track your session, how well did you do from 1 to 10, what can you improve? Because most of the times the thoughts that we have is like, what can we do different? What can we improve?
Right?
But if you write it down, like the data is saved, and now you're playing, because the reason why our brain does that is because it wants, next time to avoid us from doing this mistake, or help us to avoid this mistake. So what you do is just put it to paper, and then the data is saved, and then your brain can let go of this.
Yeah. How simple is that? 1-step process. You finish your session, write down, how you ran, how you thought you played, and maybe a hand or something. That makes a lot of sense. Because the thoughts that you have in that moment right after you finish the session are totally different than when you wake up the next morning and look at that spot in a vacuum like we do on this podcast. The way I think about it when I talk about it here is different than the way I think about it when I'm actually making that decision.
100%. Yeah, and circling back to something you said about just confidence in your decision-making and playing your A game, I think it's incredibly important in live poker, just because when you're confident in your decision, I actually think it makes you less nervous. So, I think it makes you less nervous to give off a tell. Say if you're running this massive bluff, once I put the chips into the pot, I have honestly and truly detached myself from the emotional result of what happens that hand. Or at least I try to. But so if you're just really confident in the bluff, you know you've got the nut blocker, the player has been folding a ton of rivers, you just have to have confidence. And they can't get a read off you if you really don't care what's going to happen. So, I think that's really important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Confidence is, I think, one of the most underrated skills that you can have. Also life, because life, people nowadays, they know how to read people, at least roughly, at least get roughly tells, and all of a sudden, if you go all in and then all of a sudden you shaking like this, then people say, he never shook before, what does that mean,
Right.
And so confidence is definitely super important. But also what I like to do is to connect the poker life also to the bigger picture, because when you play on a certain level, because I also work with a lot of high stakes players, what they do, they reduce their poker time and they spend more time in real life, So it's basically what I teach them is to help them to also, become a better person in their day-to-day life, which of course also helps in their poker life, but also in the bigger picture.
Absolutely. Balance is incredibly important, and I think actually it can lead to self-sabotage if you don't have enough of it. If you think you don't have enough, whether it be a girlfriend or you're not fit or whatever it may be, if you go through a downswing, I actually think you're way more likely to just punt it off because you don't have that good self-image and you're not happy in other arenas in your life. I think you really have to compartmentalize what you're doing. And make a good schedule and make sure that you're eating well, exercising, hanging out with your girlfriend, whatever it may be. Or I don't think you can be just successful and happy in life. So I very much agree with what you do in helping people both in and outside of poker. I think we have one more question for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was just that. We were just going to talk about that because you always say that step 3 is, your lifestyle and fixing those. So are there some really common lifestyle mistakes or issues that you see with the poker players, like staying up too late and not getting enough sleep, stuff like that?
So first, to put this into perspective for the people who are watching, I'm not sure because you just said step 3.
Right. What's step 1 and 2?
So what I do with my clients is I have a very special way of coaching people. As you can see in the background, it's mentoring. It's not mindset coaching. It's called mindset mentoring for a reason, because I'm not the guy who you can hire to work with for 1 hour, because I'm just thinking when it comes to mindset, things take a little bit longer. to change. We know, for example, to build new habits, it takes between 20 and 30 days, you know? And what I do usually with my clients, I take away the bad habits and give them new habits, or like implement with them good habits, you know? And this takes a while, right? So what I do is I work with clients for 10 weeks.
Yep.
And what I do in those 10 weeks is like simply 3 steps, you know? Step 1, we talk a lot about mindset, you know? Like things like, for example, like I had a player, you know, once who came to me, he said like he has huge tilt issues, and what he has, like he has a place where he has a lot of mouses placed, you know, like 20 different mouses, you know, already bought, you know, and he always, when he tilts, he destroys his mouses, you know, like he throws them against the wall. So he takes new ones, just all off this place, install them, and plays and continues to play, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. So like this is what I taught in step 1. Yeah.
Step 1, get rid of the box.
Really funny.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like step 1 is definitely everything mindset related. You know, like fear of like playing, like fear of losing. You know, chasing losses. Like everything that related is step 1. You know, mindset. Step 2 is performance. You know, this is the example I gave you with the door. You know, I show people how they can open the door, how they can close the door. You know, also how to be more disciplined. You know, how to bring a little bit more structure. You know, that's one of the common mistakes I see with like the poker players. You know, they stand up when they wake up whenever they want. You know, they play whenever they want. They study whenever they want. You know, they go to sleep whenever they want. You know, like the lifestyle. You know, like the poker gives you this freedom, right? But it's always a question, what do you do with this freedom? You know. And then step 3, as you said correctly, is optimization, where we take a look at the bigger picture and see what we can improve, what else we can improve. So like, because like everything around in your life, you know, has an influence on your poker decisions or poker life as well, right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Those are the 3 steps.
Yeah, awesome. Appreciate you sharing us with that. I'm not gonna lie. While I haven't thrown mouses, I'm going to fully admit to throwing my phone the other day when I got 2 outed in a
Nice.
1K. I got 2 outed in a 1K tournament. I was like, man. It happens to all of us, but
You just
getting
try to
that
hit
under
something
control.
soft, you know? Hit the bed, not the wall. That's the goal.
Exactly. But yeah, very much appreciate having you on today.
Thank you,
I think what
Karim.
you do is amazing, and everyone should check you out. And at the bare minimum, get a free consultation with you. Poker Mindset truly is.
What do you have to lose?
Exactly. Absolutely nothing. But thank you so much again, and we will keep in touch. Link will be into the description, and take care. And good night's rest.
Awesome. Enjoy your day, guys.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Oops. I accidentally removed it.
Double clicked it. Right.
Anyways, Ryan once again is in charge of the hand histories because, as you can see, I am in a hotel as I will be road tripping for the next month to 6 weeks. So yeah, by the way, I put it on my Instagram story. But if you guys, if I'm going through an area that you live in, feel free to hit me up. We can grab a beer, play some poker, whatever it may be. A lot of you have already done so, and I look forward to meeting you.
And wow, what perfect timing. Thanks so much, Bryce. That transitioned us right into this thing. So here we are playing some 2-5. Yes, we are. We're playing 2-5 with our dear friend and previous guest, Mr. Matt Biner. And looks like we're going to make pretty standard 4x open. Not much to say there. Cutoff, perfectly reasonable. The whale and the button calls. Small blind folds, and we get squeeze from a big blind professional player. When you see pro, what does that make you think this range looks like? Is it polarized? Is it linear? What are you thinking?
It's a lot wider and it's a lot more polarized, obviously. So I think we can get a little more out of line with King 10 of diamonds. Whereas if it's an amateur player, I look to fold this, as well as the fact we are in late position. He could think that we are opening a little lighter and is trying to exploit that and just take down the 42 for whatever pre-flop.
Yeah, 42.
So yeah, I think it's okay to call here. I wouldn't look to call here all the time, obviously, and it very much depends on this pro's play style. But yeah, He does have a lot more of a polarized range. And considering the whale is likely to come along if we call, I don't mind a call.
Okay. Is there, with better kings, like king queen suited, would you look to 4-bet perhaps here to take position? Or would you just call because the whale's there?
Yeah, definitely some percentage of the time, but I think I might just call to go three-way to a flop. I mean, I wouldn't do anything 100% of the time either way, but
right, that's fair. There's no absolutes.
I think a call here is fine most of the time.
Putting the call, whale's gonna come along.
All right, so Pro probably is gonna lead out as he had the betting lead pre-flop.
What do you think?
This hits his range. I think a little more than half, considering it's three-way. I think 55 to 60% of the pot. Yeah,
it was like pretty much right around half. Actually, I think it's a little less.
A little less, yeah. 135 into 287. So I think this is just an easy call here all day long. I think that the whale could even call with hands like 4s through 8s. And if we raise, we get him off that. And I think we're totally fine to have him in his hand. While there is a flush draw out there, I really don't see any merit in raising. The Pro has all the ace king, king queens, king jacks. So raising with the worst hand just really doesn't make sense. So yeah, I'm just going to put in the flat and reevaluate on turn.
Maybe if you have like a under-repped ace king of diamonds here with no club in hand, you could think about doing that.
I agree.
I think that's a good one. Maybe even ace 10. You could. I don't know.
Maybe I actually still look to flat this because I think the Pro will still bet a lot of turns because he still has more ace kings and king queens than we do.
That's fair.
So that's fair. I actually think I lean to call this the vast majority of the time.
Which we do. Do we get the whale? Whale leaves. Board pairing, turn card. Don't really see a lot of 3s in his range to begin with.
Assuming we're just check calling. Yeah, this is interesting because the SPR, we expect the Pro to jam virtually all of the rivers. So it kind of sucks that we're kind of just putting our money in here. Because if we call this turn, we really just have to call every single blank river. There is absolutely no merit in re-raising this because I see him jamming any single river, whether it be a club or whether it be no club. I think he's just going to jam. I mean, there's a chance on a non-club he gives up, but I really don't see that happening. So yeah, I think I elect to call here considering it's a Pro, and I think he can't have a ton of hands. I mean, he could have ace deuce, ace 4, ace 5 of clubs. He could have ace queen, which could be checking here, should be checking here, arguably. But there's still a ton of hands he could have, and I think it's a little too nitty to let this one go, even though he does have a ton of ace kings, king queens. And let's not eliminate pocket queens. Let's not eliminate pocket aces. He does have a value range here, obviously, but I think we just have to put in the call.
This is a particularly awkward spot where if the Pro really has like a super nut value hand, like say he has king queen, I think he's betting this exactly right because he's going to put us in this super awkward SPR position on the river where unless it's like, you know, a low club or a low heart, like you're just going to have to put in a call with top pair.
I actually think that when I said a majority of the time calling with king 10 of diamonds, I actually don't know if I'd say majority. I think maybe like 35% of the time you should be calling this solely because of the SPR. If we both were 2K deep, I like this call more than half the time, absolutely.
Yeah.
But considering our SPR, knowing we could be put in a position like this, I don't know if calling this the majority of the time pre-flop against the out-of-position raiser makes that much sense. I don't know. At least we have position on the Pro, but
that was his key question. Was that this was really the key decision point in the hand where he was like,
I just have a bad feeling opponent has ace king here, but as played, we can't get away from it. Oh, okay. I think this is just such a bad card.
So we're getting better than 4-1 on a call.
I'm folding.
Yeah, this is so bad.
What do we think he has? Jax is not going to just barrel flop and barrel
here's
turn.
The problem
I really don't think his bluffs get there.
Right, the ace of clubs
his bluffs get there. Yeah.
And I think that's really what our value hands that we were seeking to get value from on the river here. We're going to be missed club and heart draws. And
his wheel aces, his ace queens, like too much gets there. Even if he had a hand like ace jack suited, he could barrel this flop and turn. Ace jack of clubs, that's a very sound candidate. And while we're getting such amazing odds here, I'm laying it down.
And you know what? Card. He does the same thing.
I think it's a pretty easy fold here. I know we have some decent pot odds, but what the hell do we beat? The vast majority of his bluffs got there.
If you just looked at his pre-flop range, like his pre-flop 3-betting range in this formation with a bet and a call from in position, like what hand on that spectrum does not hit this board? I can't name a single one that doesn't, to some point or degree, like Queen Jack is probably not shoving this river.
10 Jack of clubs where we block the 10. Like that's one of the and that's just not enough hands to cover his value range.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the fold. I think it's a pretty easy fold.
I don't envy the spot at all. It's gross, but I think it is. It's a laydown. Ace of diamonds. Horrible card.
Brutal. I mean, Ace of clubs would have been worse.
Yeah, true.
But still horrible.
And
I hope, I'm pretty sure this guy said I could use his name in it. But I mean, no.
I saw which ones didn't. Don't worry.
Okay, good.
We're clear here. So this is our dear friend, another viewer. Go ahead and check him out on Instagram.
I can't remember if this is the hand he already ran by me or not, but
we're gonna see. Folds to us, big slick suited, raised to 15 at 1-3.
Completely standard at MGM.
At
MGM, like
MGM,
15 to 20, bro.
Right.
13 to 20.
You've been telling me about it, right? There are some people who open to $20 at 1-3.
Totally standard.
Whew. Lots of folding. Just one defend. Okay. So we get a big blind defense. We're like, what, 300 bigs deep? I'm sorry, 100 bigs deep with the villain. Ace 10-5 rainbow on this flop. Check 2. What do you think?
I think I'm betting this, and I think I'm only betting this about 40% of the time, honestly. I think that the opponent doesn't have that many aces, and while they continue with a 10, I don't really think they continue with much. I mean, if you have a hand like 6-7 of clubs, 6-7 of spades, maybe you could continue for a small price. Sometimes, but I think we check this and then bet 70% on the turn.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I think a delayed c-bet makes a lot of sense.
I like to play a little trappy on boards like this when the big blind has a pretty wide range and we kind of dominate this board. If this was Ace 10-5, 2 clubs, I would bet this.
Right,
but
that's interesting.
Considering it's rainbow, I think I elect to delayed c-bet here the majority of the time.
Yeah. That's so interesting. I think I would do exactly the same thing as he did, but now hearing what you're saying, it makes a lot more sense. I think with these rainbow boards that are this disconnected with a hand as strong
especially
as
villains in the big blind too. You know what I mean? Like obviously he still had to put in $12, but people don't like to fold their blinds.
I totally agree. So we get a call. That can mean a whole lot of things. Not the best turn card in the world, but
not the worst. I mean, 10 Jack offsuit gets there. I don't expect him to have Queen King. Queen King's a fine defend. I don't expect him to 3-bet us when we open under the gun too. But I'm still looking to bet this, especially considering it brings another flush draw, which we don't have.
And if we had gone with your strategy, it would have gone, check, now check.
Yeah, and I actually think I prefer that pot control there, because then if villain re-raises us on the turn, then we save money, obviously. Yeah. I assuming this goes check, bet, call. I'm assuming also we're not good here, considering this hand was submitted. 50 into 61. I don't mind it. I think it's a little big, and I think if we get re-raised, considering we went the size, I actually think we fold. I mean, maybe the same way if we go smaller, but I probably look to go a little smaller here. I might go 45. But
I think he's probably thinking that the opponent is on a draw, so he wants to get his value now.
No, I 100% think that's logic.
Yeah,
his logic. But he might be putting himself in a tough spot if rivers. I am assuming the villain calls and just rips river. I'm assuming the spot that happens.
But now the big blind calls. They call half pot on the flop.
I still think we're ahead because he's gonna want to protect if he has Queen King, 10 Jack, if he has a made hand of pocket fives, whatever it may be, he's gonna want protection and he's gonna want to put some money in, especially considering you have a lot of very good hands here: Ace 10, Ace Jack, Ace King, Ace Queen, which might not fold to a raise. So I expect us to still be ahead here, and I'm assuming some gross spade or a queen or a king rolls off or something. Okay, interesting.
Okay. So we have a straight.
Flush gets there, backdoor flush.
Right.
Let's see what the villain does.
He just
I mean, I
you
expected
called it. You
I
did
expected
call
the
it.
villain to jam because just
Oh. Well, wow. Okay, so let's think about this. The 10, queen, and jack of spades are all accounted for. So that leaves the ace and king of spades. So like ace 9, king 9.
this just
Probably
sucks.
all the suited wheel
I
aces.
think he has so many flushes here because
Yeah.
if he had a nutted hand on the turn, if he had virtually any two pair, unless it was like 10-5, jack 5, I expect him to be raising on this turn. And the fact that he didn't scares me a lot. It's really interesting because do we think he just jams a naked king here?
No. Yeah, I think he has
I
to
think
have,
sometimes.
No, I think he's bluffing maybe with like the king of spades in hand or something like that. I think like that's the situation where he rips it here with the straight. But yeah, I feel like
agree. I 100% agree.
The villain has to have one of the two key blockers here. Like if they don't have the ace or king of spades, then this is suicide.
Yeah, I agree. I actually disagree. He doesn't have to have it because we're saying if he has a bluff, because
right.
he could have 7-8 of spades, and I think jamming here is the move because of what happened pre-flop. And if we just happen to have ace king is like if we have
what are you gonna do?
Straight
if you have
flush,
the royal, you have the royal.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, straight or royal. Yeah,
cool hand, man. Enjoy your high hand bonus. That's the kind of situation.
So let's get your decision first. Are you calling or are you folding?
Me, I'm calling. I'm flicking in a calling chip here. I think, I mean, you know, without any history on the villain, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Especially considering what is this? This is an overbet jam on the river. But I don't.
What are we afraid of? Are we afraid of exactly him floating us with a backdoor flush draw? And what hands are that? 9-7 of spades, 8-7 of spades, like 9-6 of spades. Like there aren't a ridiculous amount of combos that he could have that would make sense. We don't expect him to be completing with the deuce 4 of spades, that deuce 5 of spades that often. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if he has an ace like ace 9 of spades, is that going to decide to just bomb it here? I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah. I know I'm kind of talking in circles, but
no, it's also tough in an equity sense because because we're talking about like villain could contain a king, and then we're calling to chop, and that screws with your equity in this scenario because obviously we can call to chop here a decent percentage of the time.
I think we are calling to chop most of the time. Right. Oh my gosh, just makes me think of a hand. Have you seen the one drop hand where Scott Seaver gets Antonio Esfandiari off of a $4 million pot? You have?
Yes.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah, I really did not expect you to know the hand I'm talking about. Seaver jams, and they both were playing the board. I believe it was a king, 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 8-8 board, and Seaver had an 8, and Antonio Esfandiari had pocket 5s. How the hell do I remember all of that? Anyways, he bets 2 million on the river into 2 million, I think. So it would have been a 4 million pot. And Antonio folds. Antonio had like 8 million chips, but I think he just put him on like pocket 9s. I don't even or a king, which would play it the same way. But I was honestly shocked he folded. But anyways, calling to chop can be a difficult thing. I think we're flicking the call here, and if not, we top up and we got some more information on the villain that he's calling us with the 8-5 suited.
Problem is, we actually don't know. So we're going to need Nova, MGM Poker to leave a comment for us down below as to what he actually did here, because we don't know.
Please do.
This is a gross spot, though.
I'm absolutely going to hit him up about this hand. Yeah, it's not easy, and I
can't call it either way, but I do lean towards a call.
Because the thing is, I lean call, but I really don't feel good about it. Like
exactly.
I think it's like 55% chance we're good. I think like literally the equities are like
it's
even
so
on this.
Close.
It's just like I'm not a nit. Like putting the
right.
call. But because all of his good 2-pair hands, like he must have a blocker is what we're boiling down to.
If he's
but the
bluffing,
thing is,
he has to have a blocker.
What blockers make sense is the thing. Like, because if he had an ace, like, is he just gonna ace 3 off? That doesn't make sense. He'd flat. But if he had an ace 3 suited, I mean, you can like re-raise that. You know what I'm saying?
I think.
Well, I don't know. The thing is, if he had an absolutely nutted hand, I think he can raise the turn. You know what I mean? Like if he has ace 3 of spades on the turn, why are you not raising? Like we have a lot of ace queen, ace 10s, ace jack. I don't know.
It's a
I'm talking in circles. It's a tough hand.
You're good.
Yeah.
No, that's a good one.
Let's get one more.
We're excited to see what he puts in the comments below for what.
I'm surprised you featured this hand. I actually told him we probably weren't going to feature this hand simply because I believe this is a pre-flop spot. Is it?
I think so. It's entirely pre-flop.
Yeah. But that's all right. We're about 50 minutes on the episode, which is about what we wanted. So let's see what happens.
So we get open from under the gun 1, flat from a pro, also an early-ish position. Folds dust in the big blind. Very, very standard in position to do this with jacks. I love the sizing. Yeah. Love it, love it, love it. No, what do we got? We got 40, 65. We got almost, where we got? Like $100 in the pot right here. So going to 150, I think, is perfectly fine. Yeah. You could even go 175, but again, that's just being nitpicky. So I love the size. Woo, interesting. Small blind cold call. Big blind cold call. Under the gun 1 cold call. Raised to 900. Oh boy. In general, back 4 betting is mad strong. I don't know. In what experience I do have in live and online poker, I don't think I've really ever seen someone back 4 bet bluff from early position. And I don't really know what range you can put this guy on other than queens plus ace king.
I fold ace queen off here most of the time. Like, I've seen so many people do it, and they also know that I'm an active player and expect me to re-raise. So when they just pop me back, and they pop me back massive, I'll make it $20, and they'll just make it like 85 off 400 stack. I'm like, okay, take the pot, bro. Like, sick flex.
Congratulations.
But yeah, I think this is just a pretty easy fold. Like, yeah, the pro might be capable sometimes to squeeze a pot, but they are not gonna squeeze this pot. Under the gun 1 raising, strong in itself. The button re-raising, yeah, that's not necessarily as strong because we're in a position of power, but we're also 3-betting an under the gun player, which signifies strength. Under the gun 1.
Absolutely.
Sorry, misspoke. But so when the villain pro back 4 bets this is so strong, and I really think this is aces, kings, queens, ace king. Yeah, I don't think he has any, like, bottom range is ace king. Are we calling to put ourselves in a weird spot where, yeah, we might call off if there's 3 unders, like, but we don't like it because we're only beating ace king, and the combos of ace king are not as much as the combos of aces, kings, queens, obviously ace king.
Right.
So I think we just fold, and also more importantly, we don't have $20,000 in front of us. We have $3,000 in front of us. We are putting almost a third of our stack in. Like, we have to stack off if the board comes 10-5-3 2 clubs. We have to stack off, and we don't like it because most of the time we're beat. So I think we're just putting ourselves in a position to just lose $2,100.
Well,
3K.
Now that I think about it, Bryce, actually, this hand doesn't end here because he.
I know it doesn't end here. I'm saying this should have been done pre-flop.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you because if you think about your equity versus queens plus ace king, where the only matchup that you're favored is ace king at 55%, and you're an 80-20 dog against the rest of that range, like, you're not getting the odds to call 900 here, even with that much dead money behind you.
Absolutely not.
And 10-5-4, I think you almost named that flop exactly.
I think I probably saw it and unconsciously thought of it. Like, to be honest with you.
Go ahead and comment below if you think Bryce is literally Nostradamus.
I remember poker hands.
So he goes ahead, he bets 750 into 2,250.
You have to stick it in. Ace king calls you, and if not, you're beat. Like, ace queen calls you, you have to stick it in.
But I mean, that's the thing is, if we put his 4-betting range on queens plus ace king, we get a 10-5-4 board like this, and he bets like this. Do you think he's doing that with that entire 4-betting range, including ace king?
Absolutely. Ace king plays it this way, and ace king also calls off with this, because if he figures we have a hand like aces or kings, we're just gonna back 5-bet jam most of the time. Yeah, some of the time we'll play a little trappy, but, like, the money is going in. Like, and if we just flat here, that's horrible, because if any overcard comes in, we're probably gonna put the money in anyway. And if we expect him to call with a hand like ace king, we are ahead, and this is what we wanted when we call with jacks. And we're going to jam, he's going to call, and we're going to be beat here most of the time.
So we do jam, he does call, and villain does have the pocket kings.
We gotta spade out. We gotta spade out.
Do you
spade ball one time. Spade ball. Oh.
I totally agree with you, Bryce. I think the key decision point in this hand was pre-flop, and back four betting's a bear. I think this is one that you probably learned a lesson from with jacks, where I think if this situation came up again in even not the same situation, but a similar one, I think you may fold the jacks in position here.
Yeah.
Which
I
don't
fault the post flop. I don't.
Not at all. I
That's
agree.
what
I
you
think
do.
It's over when that flop comes.
As played, you stick the money in, but
right.
Yeah,
because that's the thing. Once you cross that decision point pre-flop, like you said, as soon as you see this flop, it's the money's headed towards the middle. Tough. Ooh, thank you, All in Poker Podcast. Reminder that our contest ends tomorrow. And
thank
so like
and
subscribe. Oh, very nice. Thank you, Noah.
Please
and
do. Make sure to do it. It's free $100, free merch. The merch is pretty dope. Look at Ryan. Yeah, it's sick. We wanted to get back to you guys a little bit as we grow. We really hope to hit 1K subscribers this year at least. And
goal,
so
baby.
far this year, we're cruising on subscribers. And thank you to you guys for watching. Thank you guys for liking. Much. I got like 25 hand histories this week, Ryan. So I've got a bank of hand histories.
Blowing us up.
I know I sent you like 10, but
I'm keeping them. It's amazing. Thank you.
We've got a ton. Everyone. Thank you guys so much. I am excited for my road trip. I am excited to meet a ton of you. 2021 is going to be amazing. Make sure to set smart goals. Thank you again to Karim for coming on. Appreciated it so much. Can't wait to see you just blow up, my man. Make sure to get that poker consulting for free. Ryan, do you have any closing thoughts?
That's it for me, man.
Smash that like and subscribe button and send it to your friends, send it to your family, send it to your grandma. Let's go.
All of them. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.